Thank you so much. Hi. So that song that you heard was called Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's a band that I've loved for a really long time, ever since I was a grubby little teenager. I used to listen to Chili Peppers as a teen and like rip jeans, and used to try and play this song on guitar and fail a lot. And I actually have a few pictures of myself of this time. So I don't know if you can quite see it. Yeah, it's bad. You see the like pink striped gloves and the badges. I think there's another one. There you go. Oh, it's horrible. Anthony Kiedis, who's the singer in the band, wrote this song during a really difficult time in his life. A time when he used to walk through the streets of LA, alone and sad, finding solace in the wind and the hills and the streets. When I was young, I strongly connected with this feeling of this song, despite my main problems being just normal teenage hormones. But as I've grown up a little bit, I have found that I still connect with this song. One line in this song that really speaks to me is when it says, "I walk through her hills because she knows who I am." There is a deep desire from the songwriter to be known, to the point that he feels that he's actually found it in his surroundings. Have you ever felt like you're trying to get peace and purpose from the wrong places or things? Have you been trying to bury yourself in the distractions of life? Have you ever felt busy but alone and ungrounded? I know that I have. In Luke 10:38-42, we see an interesting story. It should be up on the screen. Awesome. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but a few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." Now, to me, this is a bit of a weird passage, especially from the perspective of the disciples. This story comes straight after the Good Samaritan parable, and before that, the sending out of the 72, both strong teachings on how to go out and change the world. Then we come to Mary and Martha's, where Jesus seems to be saying the exact opposite. Martha is busy getting everything ready, preparing food, shoving the dirty washing into the cupboard under the stairs, all the usual house guest prep. She was busying herself with all the stuff that needs to be done. And what was Mary doing? Apparently sitting around doing nothing. As an older brother myself with two younger siblings, I know how annoying they can be and exactly how Martha feels here. This could seem like a classic younger sibling move. If I sit quietly and wait long enough, maybe Martha will get everything ready and not realize that I'm just chilling. But Jesus is praising Mary for sitting with him instead of busying herself, despite having just explaining his revolutionary teaching on doing good works. This just seems very counterintuitive to me. Doesn't Jesus want to be looked after and have his dinner? He wants us to go out and do good works and also sit and do nothing. But Jesus is communicating something deeper here to Martha, to the disciples, and to us. We're told that Martha was distracted, and we can see she's getting frustrated with her sibling. Again, I've been there. What Martha is distracted with here is not even a bad thing, but it is stopping her from doing what is best, as Jesus put it. Jesus sees the heart of both sisters and seeks to set the record straight as to what the priority should be in our lives. So what's the point of this passage? We're shown in this passage that the most important thing is to just come and sit in his presence. More important than all the stuff we're doing. And in Martha's case, the stuff that she was doing was preparing for Jesus. Now, to me, this seems like a very important thing. If Jesus was coming over to my house, I would want to make sure the house was at least acceptably tidy, and I would probably end up scurryfunging. A word that my dad told me that means to tidy frantically moments before a guest is arriving. Martha is sort of scurryfunging here. But here's the thing. Jesus is highlighting that this world is full of distractions, even good things like preparing for a house visit from the Son of God, the Messiah himself. There are so many things in our lives that are good, but that can become distractions if we let them. Our work, our families, even church, and in this case, serving. Martha gets distracted with the process and business of the presence of Jesus rather than actually experiencing his presence for herself. All things have the opportunity to become a distraction, which means that distractions can be good or bad. Good like making a roast for Jesus, bad like checking your mobile at the dinner table. Speaking of which, is it just me or has the world completely changed since the introduction of our smartphones? For me, my phone is my ultimate distractor. If I manage to spend less than 2 hours a day on my phone, I'm doing really well. My average is probably about 3 hours, but the UK average was 4 hours a day in 2021. That's over 1,500 hours a year. I don't want to think about what I could have done with that time, but if you dare, after the service, you can go and check and see what your daily average is. It's not good for me. Now, I'm not here to give you a lecture on how bad smartphone usage is or debate ethics on the digital revolution, because it's worth knowing that many, many good things have come from this digital age. But it has had a significant impact on how we spend our time, and we have to remember that we've got to a point in our world where technology has been designed to grab our attention and steal our time. There's never nothing to do anymore. There's always something for your mind to process, to digest, to consume. This lack of time to think, be still, and be bored has had enormous impact on our collective physical, mental, and spiritual health. A report by the Education Policy Institute and Prince's Trust from last year, looking at 5,000 young people in England, identified that the number of young people with probable mental illness has risen from 1 in 9 in 2017 to 1 in 6 in 2021. You might have even seen that Tom Holland, the actor, has just quit social media this week, citing mental health issues. Even Spider-Man isn't immune to the impacts of the distractions that is social media. But what are we actually being distracted from? It's actually quite simple. Like Martha, we're being distracted from spending time with Jesus, sitting at his feet in his presence. The constant noise of life can lead us to push Jesus down in our priorities list. Finding time to read your Bible or pray can feel almost impossible. The enemy is not a fan of us spending time with our Father, as he knows what power and impact it can have in our lives. I've certainly felt this struggle for myself, and it's been a long journey for me to get into any kind of consistent habit of spending time with Jesus. You can ask my wife for verification on this. I'm constantly distracted by notifications, things to buy, people to respond to, emails to read. I found myself many times saying, it's so hard to find 10 minutes to sit and be quiet with Jesus. But in that same day, I'll have spent 3 hours on my phone. So many times I'll find myself pulling out my phone in the middle of a conversation or quiet time to reply to whatever trivial demand it's presenting me, disrupting the potential for the Holy Spirit to come into that moment. Whilst it might not be screen time for you or phone usage, life is full of distractions, good and bad. This is as true for us today as it was for the people of Jesus' time, if not even more so. That's what Jesus is telling us here in this verse. He knows what we're facing, and he also has the answer. We need to practice sitting in his presence, also known as being present. What does it mean to be present? The rise of the well-being movement over the past few years has brought the word present in this meaning back into popular use. The world definition of being present means to be focused and engaged in the here and now without being physically or mentally distracted. This can look like meditating, engaging fully with those around you, practicing gratitude. These are all great things and go some way to helping explain what it means to be present, but there is a deeper purpose to the practice of being present as a Christian. We need to involve the presence of God. This looks very similar to something else that Jesus taught us about, prayer. The practice of being present in the presence of God and prayer are, in fact, one and the same thing. Being present can be seen as another facet of prayer, the kind of prayer where you make yourself fully open to God and allow yourself to just be with him. That's what Paul is asking us to do when he says to pray without ceasing in 1 Thessalonians. He's asking us to practice the presence of God. So what does it look like practically to be present? Well, the best place to start is to look at what Jesus did, as his top priority was being connected and present with the Father and those around him. There are 2 main ways that we see Jesus practicing being present in the scriptures. Firstly, being present alone. Many times in the Bible, we see Jesus go to quiet places to spend time by himself in prayer with the Father. Just earlier in the book of Luke, he spent a whole night alone up a mountain. Jesus continually prioritized spending time in prayer alone. I try to do this in the morning, not going up a mountain, but spending a short time alone in prayer with a Bible verse and no phone. This practice of prayer alone was so important to Jesus, and we should really take note. Secondly, Jesus was also engaged with the world and people around him. He was intentional when it came to being present with others, even when it wasn't convenient. In John 4, we see the story of the woman at the well. He went out of his way to speak with someone he shouldn't have, and didn't condemn her, but instead asked her for a drink. He had a vulnerable moment here, when instead he could have been checking TripAdvisor for the best lunch spots in Samaria. Or in Luke 19, we have Zacchaeus. Jesus sees him up a tree and then goes to his house for dinner, despite crowds of people. That sounds extremely stressful and inconvenient to me. After having spent 5 years living in the busiest city in the UK, London, myself, I can tell you that you learn how to deal with crowds of people. You get your head down and you power through. But Jesus cared about being in a moment with a person, irrespective of what was going on around him and the distractions that he could face. He made himself present with them, rather than succumbing to the social norms and expectations placed upon him. Now, you might be thinking, this whole being present thing sounds like a lot of work and rather inefficient. Why should I bother? I've been on my own journey with being present, and it's not always straightforward. Some days it can feel like you're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back, and there are still days when I struggle to find any time to sit and be quiet with the Father. But it has been my experience that the things in life that we have the most internal resistance to are the things that we have the potential to reap the most reward from. Recently, I've been trying to eat a little bit more healthily, and it's so hard. I just want to eat burgers all day, and I had one last night, to be fair. But I know that the decisions that I make now will benefit me in the future. The 1% rule from author James Clear in his best-selling book, Atomic Habits, explains this a little bit further. If you get 1% better for each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. I found for myself that by undertaking a daily practice of being with God and being present with him, that my anxiety and stress levels have reduced. I feel more grounded. I feel more like myself. I feel more motivated to take care of myself. I have a bigger vision for my future and the future of my family. It has shifted the paradigm or the perspective of my whole life. My mum has also seen the impact of this daily practice in her life, albeit on a bigger scale. From a place of being burned out from the stuff of life, she felt God prompt her to slow down and be quiet, at one point even losing her voice. She listened to what God was doing and is now running a well-being charity with over 200 centres in the UK, teaching people how to slow down and get prayer at the centre of their lives. Why is this, though? Why have things changed for myself and my mum? We're told in Isaiah 40, verse 31, from the Amplified Version, "But those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength and renew their power. They will lift up their wings like eagles. They will run and not become weary. They will walk and not grow tired." When we are present, when we spend time with him, it helps us to be present when we spend time with others. It's where we find wisdom, peace, and strength. But there is another reason we should take notice of this practice, more important than what we gain from it. It's simple. Jesus himself made being present a priority in his life, and so we should too. Our goal as Christians should be to become more Christ-like, to align more with the image in which we were created. So when we see Jesus making something a priority, we should too. Why did he make it a priority? Jesus knew that the Father loves to spend time with him, just as he loves to spend time with us. So how can we start being present? Before we talk about the hows of being present or what you can do, there are a couple of bits that are worth clarifying, I think. Firstly, this isn't a call to abandon all your responsibilities and throw your phone into the sea like you're in a film. We should make sensible choices about our lives. Each of us have a different path, and God understands you and the world that we live in. Secondly, we're going to get it wrong. We get it wrong all the time, and we're going to carry on getting it wrong. But God is a God of grace and love and understands when you accidentally have a 6-hour Netflix binge and forget to pick up your Bible. Thirdly, there are no levels or checklists with this one. This is a slow, lifelong practice. There's no get present There's no get present quick scheme here. Well, that was a mouthful. Also, you do have the time. Don't believe the lie of the enemy that you don't. I promise that you do. It's worth bearing in mind that Jesus was an individual with a very busy schedule. He was a famous speaker in high demand. This is why he had to go up the mountain to be alone. But he consistently made time to pray alone with the Father and engage with people at a personal level on his journey. So unfortunately, being too busy doesn't really cut it. That being said, God understands us and our schedules. You may have kids or other responsibilities that mean your days are just packed. But spending time with Jesus is the one thing that isn't worth skipping out on. Ultimately, this is going to look different for different people. For Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, walking around his streets was his practice of being present, and this made him feel like he was known. But we have the possibility of something even better, to be known and loved by our Father in his presence. I have one small thing that's helped me over the years for practicing the presence of God that I want to share with you. It's very simple, but it's been really important and transformational for me. Just slow down for 5 minutes. Find 5 minutes each day to read a verse, dwell on it in his presence. This one thing is how I started off, and it's the one thing that I do if I have 5 minutes. In Psalm 27, verse 4, David says, "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple." You may not need to go up Snowdon or walk around the streets of LA, but I think you can probably find 5 minutes. If you can find even a short while to spend with your Father each day, open yourself up to his presence. Over time, you can find the peace, the healing, the love, the joy, the life, and the wisdom that you're looking for. In the same way Anthony Kiedis walked through the hills because they know who he is, we can sit at his feet because he knows who we are. He just wants to spend time with you and be with you. And in the process, we can be transformed by the renewal of our minds. Let me just pray. Father, we thank you so much that you love us. We thank you that your presence is always available to us and that you always just want to come and spend time with us. We ask you, Lord, that you would come now by your Spirit. Come and fill us in this moment of quiet. And as the band just play, you can use this time, you can sing along with the song, or you can use the time to just sit in his presence. But he wants to come and be with you. He wants to come and spend time with you.